Well, hello, everybody. Obviously, you can tell it is not Hammer today. I'm Ron Seal, guest hosting for Hammer this morning. You probably see me sometimes in the commentary. Glad to have you with us. We're going to go through a lot of the same stuff that Hammer does, but I put a little different flair on things. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. Hopefully you'll stick with us. Put in your comments if you have them. As always, tell us you're here. Hammer likes to know who's here, and now I need it even more because with Hammer not here today, we've got to get everything going. And if you want to join us each and every day, Hammer is here every morning. I had to throw this 6:30 a.m. Pacific time because I am here on the Pacific side, 9:30 Eastern time. Make sure you hit the like button and all that fancy stuff. And I'm going to be a little bit slow on this. I do a radio broadcast every morning at 9 o'clock Pacific time, noon for those of you on the East Coast. But we record it. And so we're going to make sure that give you some of the same flair here. So make sure you hit the thumbs up button, smash the like button, all those other things. I'm on Restream. That's what I was starting to get to is I do everything on StreamYard, so I might be a little clunky today because we are on Restream. I've practiced it. I spent about an hour on it with Hammer last week. So we're going to see what we can do on it. So stick with us. We hope you'll enjoy it. If you're watching us, say hello for all of you that are live with us. If you're watching on the replay, give us that hashtag replay. I will kid a little bit because I always, in the commentary, make a comment to Hammer that he wants to say hi to the live folks, but I don't want to say hi to the dead folks. So I think almost all of us are live. So say hello. Being that I don't know everybody, when you're saying hello, do me a favor and just put where you're saying hello from so we can get an idea where you're checking in from this morning. And we're going to do a lot of the same things that Hammer does. I think I've got a commentary in here. Today we're going to go through Moody's pulling the plug on all of us 10 minutes before closing time on Friday. So we got to watch that go off the cliff and then lose a little bit more hair over the weekend, wondering what was going to happen. And we'll talk about that. We will chat a little bit about Hammer's programs because I am like you. I'm an originator and I'm a subscriber. So I will be on. I'm on most of Hammer's grab and go social posts. I get the text alerts. And if you didn't get your text alert this morning, don't blame me. Hammer programmed all of those things for us. So here, just remember that we'll get those text alerts out to you. Okay, so right now, if I'm looking at the chat, I can't see a whole lot of it. I see Candido is here. Good morning. Timothy, good morning. Kenny Rivard, good morning. Deb Dickinson, good morning. Deb Dickinson checking in from Seattle, another West Coaster that's early morning. Okay, we've got Colin Jordan from New Braunfels, Texas. Mike Morano, good morning. I think, were you up in Detroit area, Mike? I think that's where I've heard you say before that you're in that Michigan area. So, keep on checking in. I will share with you, and if I can figure out how to get this goodie to work, I'm going to tell you that, I'm the one each and every morning that gives Hammer the idea of what we're going to celebrate for the day. I do my radio show, as I've shared with you, and I start out each day with some sort of a celebration. We're in America. We get to celebrate, and I like celebrating. The only thing I like more than celebrating is I like food. Now, if I can figure out how to, I got to push this share button down here, and I can share what our celebration is of the day. So it is National Devil's Food Cake Day. It's kind of ironic that I'm the one sharing all of the food items because for the last 6 or 7 months, I've been on a serious food plan. Well, maybe not a serious food plan. I've just been losing weight. So I'm 58 pounds as of today. 58 pounds lost. So I like Devil's Food Cake. That if I had my graphics team, they would know that to put a little bit of whipped cream on top. Do you like Devil's Food Cake? Tina, you're in California also. Will Patterson's checking in from California. It's amazing. Hammer does these things at 9:30. He thinks it's so good that he's at 9:30. We're all half asleep and I've got my water here, but I've already had a couple cups of coffee. You don't realize it if you haven't done it before. But when I started doing radio in 2010, I was told that you've got 3 hours of prep time for every 1 hour of airtime. Now, thankfully, I've gotten used to doing these things and getting ready for my radio show. Mike Brown, Kansas City, switched to Facebook, not seeing comments from YouTube. Okay, I'm on StreamYard, so I don't know exactly how to get that over there. Okay, Mike is Michigan in the summer, Venice, Florida in the winter. Yeah, we are up early, but I digress. And I get on these tangents and go in circles, so we're going to try and stick a little bit to it. But Devil's Food Cake, like I started to say, as I celebrate every day, we're in California, we're in the United States, and no matter all of our shortcomings, we have the greatest country in the world. So let's get on with our broadcast today. So it's National Devil's Food Cake Day. Let's see what happened on Friday. And I'm going to share something with you that a lot of folks don't always get to know. But I'm going to show you I think I'm going to show you the charts. And I know that Hammer does this all the time. And one of the things that I don't know that everybody understands, and I'm trying to get this share to show up here. I know there's a share button right here. And I'm supposed to be able to push another button and go over there and I can share. Let's see if it'll let me share this. Okay, so there is the charts. And if you're watching this and you're seeing, okay, where is it? How do we know so well? I'm going to go down into the small thing because no one wants to see my face anyway. But how do we know so much about what's driving the markets and where the markets, what's moving the markets? And part of that comes from just taking a look at the charts, and depending upon what services you subscribe to, you might notice that we can see over here exactly when things are happening. And this happens to be a chart. And I don't know if you're able to see. Well, you probably can't see my pointer. I don't have that fancy thing. Maybe I'll get it for tomorrow, that fancy thing that Hammer uses. But you can see on the chart what's happening from minute to minute. And if you are a subscriber to MBS Live or any of the other streaming services, you can actually see when, and they give you a recap of timing. So when I look at the timing of what's happening and when it's happening, at 10:34, we can see that the markets were pretty quiet. And that's 10:34. When I say 10:34, I'm talking about West Coast time. So those of you that are on the East Coast, you can do the math. It's easier to add than it is to subtract for me. So I like to, bank account, whatever. That's a different story. So you can see at 10:34, the markets are pretty much doing not a whole heck of a lot. The markets are just flowing along. And then at 10:42, you get a little bit of change, not a whole lot. But then if you look where the market fell off, and that was about 10 minutes until the close of the market. Well, then you go to the news and you say, what happened at 10 minutes until close of the market to make that fall off so dramatically? Well, that's when Moody's came out and downgraded the U.S. debt. Does it matter? I mean, when you really think about it, the markets move on some of the weirdest things that you can possibly imagine. So Moody's downgrades it. Is that going to affect anything? Well, they're the last of all the services to have downgraded the debt. So why does it really matter? Well, the markets like to trade on anything they can try and make an excuse for. I'll give you another example, and I'll see if I can find this. For those of you and I'll give the touts to Dan Rawich on this one. If you guys aren't following Dan is another one of the guys that shares some really, really good information out there. And Dan shared a chart, and you see this morning we already heard Walmart's going to increase prices, inflationary, because of tariffs. And that's all over the news. But why do I bring up Dan and the good stuff that Dan's sharing? Well, Dan's sharing out there right now that, and I'm going to see if I can stop this one. I think that's how you do it. Stop screen share. And then we go to another screen share, and it's supposed to let me, well, maybe I can't grab Dan's chart. Okay, so window, maybe. There it is. Okay, so there's Dan's chart. Let's see if I can get that up on the screen there for you to see what we're sharing there. So this is a chart. If it comes up on the screen, you'll know it. Otherwise, I'm going to give you the words view. So this is a chart that Dan Rawich puts out. And every Sunday night, he puts out a great report. And this is container freight costs. Now, if Walmart is buying product from China, and that's their assertion, is that they get their product from China. And I'm bringing this up because it's inflation. And inflation is, the arch enemy of bonds. So Walmart's saying they're going to have to increase their prices because of inflation. So why aren't they decreasing prices because of their cost of transportation of bringing the goods from Asia to the US? Why doesn't that hit the media? They don't want to share that kind of stuff. I don't know why they don't want to share that, but they're not sharing that information. And that's a big issue right now. So you look at both sides and you try and figure out why are we seeing what we're seeing and what's driving some of these markets. And here's another screen from Dan again, looking at what the PPI is year over year, the producer price index. Well, if you look at this, why did producer price index drop so much last week? Well, container costs are a big portion of the producer price index. And we also can look and see, this is the services, and you can see all these charts are pointing downward. So one of the things as contrarians, and that's what if you want interest rates to drop, you need to be a contrarian. And what do I mean by being a contrarian? Well, that's basically an unfortunate that if we're talking about the economy, when the economy is good, that's bad for interest rates. When the economy is bad, that's good for interest rates. So we're always looking at the opposites. And take a look. This chart, again, this is another one of Dan Rawich's charts, is showing retail sales. Now, regardless of what the markets want to tell you, you're looking right here at what the retail sales numbers are. And this is going to break it down even further. And I know some of these charts are kind of small to see. And if you want them, I mean, Dan, you can subscribe to Dan or I'll send it to you. Just let me know. But if you look on there, the item, and I wish I could kind of show it to you a little bit better. Oh, you can see my pointer right there. So that number right there that my pointer is at, not real clear, that's actually sporting goods, hobby, books, and music stores. Well, why do I point that one out? Well, those are items that are really luxury. Yeah, I know if the kids are getting ready for Little League or they're going, I guess, to soccer, football, whatever the sports are that they're going to right now, you need it. But sales are dropping off a cliff on those items because those are the commodities that those vendors, those producers said, you know something, we're going to pass along every cost that we have or everyone we think we can get away with. Well, I guess you couldn't get away with it, vendors, because America decided, and this is always the case, the consumers got the ultimate vote. They decide what they're going to buy, what they're not going to buy. So if you stop buying these items, well, then they're going to realize that they don't have the same price controls that they thought they did. And we're going to watch some of those numbers start to get reflected, and we'll see them continue going through. Here's manufacturing again. You're starting to see and what some of these numbers look like. This is the Empire State Manufacturing Index, and you can see that some of these numbers, some are going up, but most of them are not in the strongest point. And there you start seeing this is a fun one, because until 2 years ago when we saw that we had 2 negative quarters of GDP, which has historically been the definition of a recession. Well, generally, the Atlanta Fed is what's shown on this chart up here in green. That's their forecasting of GDP for the second quarter. But wait a second. The number down here is the blue chippers. Usually the Atlanta Fed is worse than the blue chip. Now, the blue chippers are on the opposite side of that coin right now. The blue chip companies, the biggies, they're all saying we're not going to have the greatest GDP going forward. So we'll see what happens there. And then we're looking at bonds. Bond prices we know have been dropping. Now, where are people going to start their money? Well, if they want to get high risk and if they think that the market is going to be doing well, they're going to put their money into the stock market. Historically, you take your money out of the stock market and it goes into the bond market and vice versa. But that really hasn't been happening as much lately. So we're not going to see that continue too much. But eventually, you got to think that people are going to start saying, is the stock market overpriced? Are some of these things going to start coming to fruition? Are we going to start seeing the clearance? Now, take a look at this chart. And this one here, if I can see it clearly, which I can't because my eyes are not good. You start seeing, let me see if I can expand this chart a little bit, make it a little bigger. Housing starts. This is what they call down here. This is kind of the jaw of death because those two have to come back together. When they come back together, that's going to have an impact on the market. So we're just going to keep watching that one. I'm going to stop sharing this. What are we expecting for this? Oh, let me go to one other story that I want to talk to you about a little bit. Then I'm looking off here to the side of my screen because I don't have one of those fancy teleprompters and all that kind of stuff. But the gap between real personal income, less transfers, and real personal consumption expenditures shrank in the first quarter. And I'm not going to give you all the numbers. Only the 7% of the $1.45 trillion stimulus fueled peak in the second quarter of 2020. So this is coming again. This is, as you know, when you watch some of the comments that I make, Danielle DiMartino Booth comes out with some great stuff. And the reason I love watching her stuff is because she's not putting commentary in. She just gives you data. She spent 9 years working at the Dallas Fed. And she wasn't one of the Fed governors or presidents or any of that stuff. She was the behind the scenes person. And if you ever listen to Danielle, if you ever get a chance to chat with her, she'll tell you that she'll go to different seminars and she puts out data. And people want to say, well, she's all negative or she's all positive or she's pro this, pro that, negative, whatever. But when you're just sharing data, how can you're putting your own spin on what she has to say. And yes, I will put my own spin on it. So right now, and Hammer talked about this last week, if you were watching, that the economy is still good because people are still spending. But the question is, how long can people spend for? Now, we're looking at part of in her report this morning, real personal interest payments are $4.5 billion, 60% higher than they were in 2008 or the great financial crisis levels. Delinquencies over 90 days, auto loans, 4.99%. Credit cards, 12.31%. Other consolidated loans, 9.4%. Again, these are all higher than 2009, the second quarter. And again, nearing the great financial crisis peak. Student loan stress, 6 million borrowers, more than 90 days past due. 23.7% of those required to pay are delinquent, up from 22.1% before the moratorium, which was during the COVID days. Consumer sentiment, University of Michigan's current personal finance index, 67.5. Historically low reading. Probability of losing a job in the next 5 years, 21.8%. Why do I share these numbers with you? It's because I'm an originator just like you. What are you telling your clients right now about these numbers? Are you telling it to scare them, or are you using them to grow your business? Now, I submit that, the idea here, Macro Edge, job cuts tracker, May will be the fourth consecutive month topping 100,000 job cuts. Warren notices are consistent with pre-2008 levels. Warren notices are the big companies that are saying we're going to cut 60 or more jobs. So again, why am I telling you all these things? Because we can be out there ahead of people, helping them to grow their business. Right now, anybody that's in your database, are you calling them? What are you calling them for? Now, you can look up, if you've done their loan in the past, you can look it up and see what the value of their property is. Many folks have good equity in their properties. And I do something on my show, I call it the two-step. And if you've seen me, I'm a big guy, so I don't dance. But what I call the two-step is I'm looking out there and saying, who can we talk to about doing a debt consolidation loan? Who can we help that way? Because what is the two-step? Why do I call it a two-step? It's planning for two loans right now. And I do it with every single loan. I learned this from Barry Habib at one of the conferences we were at. Every loan is got a loan for today and a plan for tomorrow. So I've got one closing closed this week. It's a divorce case. And I said, I think that interest rates are going to drop over the next 6 to 12 months. If I am right, and I'm just a forecaster and I read a lot and I study a lot. But if I'm right and interest rates drop over the next 6 to 12 months, do we care what the rate is today? So let's take a higher rate, not pay points. And I'm going to watch for you to see when we can save, in this particular case, $500 a month and 3 years in duration. How do we save 3 years in duration if we go from a 30-year loan that's been paying for 6 to 12 months to a new 30-year loan? Well, we're taking part of that $500 a month savings and applying it to a principal balance. Now, the client has to be disciplined. They've got to do their part. I can do my part. You can do your part. But the client has to be disciplined as they're doing this. And the reason that I say it's a two-step is we know that if somebody is in these numbers that Danielle is warning us about and telling us that there might be delinquent on auto loans, credit card loans, consolidated loans, if they're behind on their student loans, it's harder to deal with that. Obviously, we've got to deal within guidelines of those things, unless you've got private money or portfolio investing available. If people are worried about losing their jobs, this is a biggie. If someone's worried about losing their job, have you helped them get their financial picture in line? Have you made sure that every one of your clients has a home equity line of credit? Everyone. Now, whether they use it or not, whether you get paid for it or not, it's going to help you in the long run. I digress again. I'm sorry, but I digress. The two-step. So you're going to do that two-step, and you're telling people right now, our plan is that the second part of that two-step is if we do a loan now, we're dealing with if somebody's got is tight, if their ratios are tight, if their credit utilization is high. The bottom line there is that you got to be careful. You got to be careful. Get them out of that. They're going to have a cash out refi expense, and 12 months from now, you're going to redo it again. Their FICO score should be better. You don't have that cash out refi, and you get them into a better long-term loan. So I'm gonna get off of that stuff. Lock advice for you today. Okay, Tom, I'm there. We're at that point. I'm going to give you the lock advice. I'm going to tell you the same thing that I've said over and over again if you watch the comments, and we're already starting to see it. Markets always, always, always overreact, and they overreacted with the pricing. I think that when rates come out this morning, and if this thing comes up and I can share it, you're going to see that we've already started to see that the market's overreacted and is already coming back. So here's you can see over on here, we got all the way down here to 98.31. Now we're already back up at 98.48. We're down 18 basis points. The markets, so my advice right now is to float temporarily. If you look at the data that's coming out there's not a whole lot of news coming out this week. Maybe that's why Hammer let me host. He went on vacations because he knew there wasn't going to be a whole lot of news. So I'm saying float right now. Once we see this correction come back in, I believe that we're going to see reprices throughout the day because the market's going to get back on a stronger sense. I think we will see some reprices. And then I'm a big believer that over the week, as we get later and later into this week, we're going to start seeing more and more volatility because the traders are going to go away. As we get Thursday, Friday, getting closer to the holiday weekend, you're going to see big swings. I'd love to see us locked going into Thursday and Friday, just unless there's something major geopolitical. We can't forecast geopolitical events. That just doesn't work. But my advice there is going to be, Tom, I'm going to say, if you got them after today, tomorrow, watch those rates. And then I'm going to say, I would say what I'm going to do, I can only tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch today. I've got a couple that are floating right now, and we'll probably lock them later in the week before we get into the weekend, just so we can continue on and be safe. So, what are your thoughts? Tell me, anybody got any other thoughts, any questions on what we've talked about this morning? I'd love to hear what you have to say. Are you using Grab and Grow Social? I'd love to hear if people are using that one as well, because that's a biggie, and Hammer is going to be coming out with a lot of great stuff. Hammer and Austin are doing great thoughts on that. So anybody got any thoughts? I guess I've overtalked my welcome here. Hammer likes to keep these at about 20 minutes. I'm at 26 right now. So unless you've got some other thoughts out there, I'm gonna shut it down. But I think we missed Michael Love. Glad to have you with us. Krista, Brandy, Debbie Richardson, Brian Phillips. Glad to have you all with us, and love to see your comments and what you have to say. If your thoughts, any additional thoughts on these things as to where the markets are and where we're going. Other than that, I'm going to check out and wish you all a great day. I will be back tomorrow morning and have some more thoughts for you at that time.